Cultural Studies of Stuart Hall. Every theory by its nature has ideological content. He defines ideologies as a mental framework, the languages, concepts, categories, imagery of thought, and the representation which different classes and social groups set up in order to make sense or figure out the way society works. Hall believed that the research on individual voting behavior, brand loyalty, or response to dramatic violence fails to uncover the struggle for power that the media hides. He also thought it was a mistake to treat communication as a separate academic discipline, which then leads to the academic isolation tending to separate messages from the culture they inhabit. This is when Hall referred to his work as cultural studies rather than media studies. Cultural studies is composed of all these elements and more. You can consider this as the field that concentrates on social and cultural forces, and from here it can either create a community or cause a division. Moving forward, according to a literacy theorist, Jonathan Kohler, he explains how one of the goals of cultural studies is to understand the multiple ways in which identities are formed, experienced, and transmitted. For example, identities on how it's made, how you see yourself, how the sense of you or your group is communicated. This may include identity, in the group's or individual's identity. Groups can be defined by race, gender, sexuality, age, ethnicity, religion, etc., or also by your sense of belonging or exclusion, one sense of identification. So let's break down this definition in cultural studies to a smaller aspect. Theories in cultural studies maintain that the media represents ideologies of dominant classes in society. Because media are controlled by corporations, the information presented to the public is necessary influence and framed with profit in mind. Cultural studies theorists, therefore, are concerned with influence. Theories are then troubled with media influence and how power plays a role in the interpretation of cultural. Now let's look at an example. A real-life example is what went on with Dylann Roof, the American suspect for the Charleston church shooting. He killed 9 African Americans. He walked into a church and he was asked and invited to sit in their mass ceremony, to pray with them. The headline didn't read terrorist attack against dominant race. Some headlines even tried to defend him by saying that he had an African American as a friend on Facebook. Articles state how he had been planning an act that would increase racial tension in the U.S. by getting retribution for what he preserved as crimes against white people. This definitely ties into cultural studies because Hall implies that it's a combination of variety political engaged critical approaches. White people are always going to be above everyone else. At the end, they were trying to see if Roof was mentally unstable, him being the reason why he did what he did. If Roof were to be an African American, they wouldn't consider that since they are a different race. Also, people can take into consideration that when he was arrested, they put him in a bulletproof vest. This is considered to be a white privilege. Emphasizing what was said before, theorists in cultural studies maintain that the media represents ideologies of the dominant class in society.